Haunting of Bly Manor comes out on Netflix this weekend. This is the highly anticipated follow-up to The Haunting of Hill House, Mike Flanagan's extremely good show that's on Netflix. And although it casts certain actors, again, this is not a sequel. It doesn't tell a continuation of that story. In fact, it's based off of the work of Henry James, who's most known for his novella The Turn of the Screw, that inspired films like The Innocents and most recently The Turning. So after an au pair's tragic death, Henry hires a young American nanny to care for his orphaned niece and nephew, who reside at Bly Manor with the chef Owen, groundskeeper Jamie, and housekeeper Mrs. Gross. Soon after arriving at the Bly estate, she begins to experience strange occurrences and a grim history starts to unravel. I was fortunate enough to see this show early, so this is going to be 100% spoiler-free. I'm not going to talk about any plot details. Bly Manor is yet again another amazing-looking show. After the gorgeous work that they did with the production design and the cinematography and the visual effects of Hill House, this series looks beautiful. Every episode looks really expensive. It looks like you're watching a bunch of mini films, just like with Hill House. That aspect of the show is wonderful. The performances are also all uniformly excellent. However, it does take some getting used to see actors from Hill House play completely different roles here, some of them with very heavy accents. It threw me off for a bit during the first episode because I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to experience. I didn't know if there was going to be any connective tissue between these two shows, and so seeing these actors definitely not play the same character, it was slightly jarring at first, but that went away really fast. Victoria Pedretti takes the lead here as Danny Clayton, this nanny that's hired to watch after this niece and nephew, and she begins to realize that there's some really sinister shit happening in the hallways at night. She's really good in the show. I thought her performance was completely different from Hill House. Henry Thomas is yet again working with Flanagan here, and I'm so glad that he is. I think still that he is one of the most underutilized actors that's currently working. He's terrific in this show as well, just as he was in Hill House. Alex Esso shows up again after her role in Dr. Sleep, and she's excellent, but I think perhaps the best performance in this entire series, and I'm very sorry if I say her name incorrectly, it's Tania Miller. I think she's terrific in this show. She plays the housekeeper who has a very storied history with Bly Manor, and a lot of pent-up emotion. And I loved watching the evolution of her character, and I think she has one of the best episodes as well. I feel very neutered that I can't talk about spoilers, but I'm not going to, don't worry. It's just that there's a lot of things I'd like to mention, and I'm going to be as vague as possible. I don't think this is as good as Hill House, and I think that a lot of people could be disappointed with the show if they aren't eased in to a specific element of it. This isn't really a horror show in the way the first show was. There are absolutely horror elements. There's strange things in the hallways, ghostly faces, odd things show up. It's definitely got scares in it. Not nearly as many as Hill House. And that's because Bly Manor is a romance. This is the show that explores the lives of multiple characters that are in some way, shape, or form dealing with loving someone, and other people are suggesting that they shouldn't love that person. Or maybe they're just afraid to tell that person. Or it's a private hidden love. And there's multiple characters throughout the course of this show that deal with that in various ways. And it takes a while for the show to lean into that. For a while you're watching the show expecting a lot more scares than you're getting. And eventually it becomes apparent that this is, in many ways, a gothic romance. This show definitely deals with similar tragic elements. Certain characters have very frightening backstories, especially our lead character who from time to time will see someone reflected in mirrors wearing glasses. And as you peel back the layers of that mystery, her character becomes infinitely more interesting. But it did take a few episodes to get into it. The first episode was a great teaser. It's the only one that Flanagan directs in this series, which was also a little bit of a disappointment, but I understand. It's a lot of hard work, and you're running this show, and you just made Dr. Sleep, and I completely get that. I'm a fan, and I wish that there were more Flanagan episodes. That being said, that first episode was a great teaser, but after that, for a minute, it does kind of slow down. And it's not that it's boring, it's just that you're sort of waiting for it to let you know what it is. I talked a lot about this in the past with certain films, but there's the promise of your premise. Basically, all that means is what does the audience expect out of your premise, and are you delivering that to them? And there's a chunk of Bly Manor where I didn't really know what it was about. But once it shows itself, so to speak, I thought the show picked up considerably. Also, again, I won't ruin it for you, but If you have watched my hilariosity reviews over the years, there is a casting choice in the pilot episode in a very minor role that blew my fucking mind. I could not believe what I was looking at, and I loved it. I was so happy. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's I I'm still in shock about it. It's great. Just watch it. I'd say my biggest issue with Bly Manor is that since they're taking the work of Henry James, many things, and putting them all into one series, this isn't just all based on the turn of the screw. It's based off of a lot of his stories. Sometimes moments can feel like one-offs that don't really add to the overall narrative. There's one character that sometimes sees a smiling doppelganger of themselves, and while it is frightening and kind of unnerving in the moment, it didn't feel like it led to much by the end of the show. So even though I didn't like Bly Manor quite as much as Hill House, I still think the show has a lot to offer. It's filled with great performances, it looks amazing, and when viewed from the angle of gothic romance, I think the show benefits a lot from knowing that going in, and I think that it will also be much better on future rewatches knowing that. I'm going to give The Haunting of Bly Manor a B. It comes out on Netflix this weekend. I hope you guys check it out and enjoy yourself. If you've been watching my 8th annual Halloween special so far, thank you for continuing to do so. If you haven't, there's going to be a link for a playlist in just a second. You can watch the first few episodes. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.